I'm going to do things a little differently today. Well, I guess not that differently because I've done something similar before, but we're going to do a let's do my nails while I give you guys a life update. Sort of a quarterly update because it is March as I record this, almost the end of March. This will not include the budget update because that will be a separate video, but I just wanted to catch up on life and all the things and just kind of give you guys a brief status update of how things are going. um, I know that, the vlogs always just show just a little bit of a snapshot of what's happening in my life, and things have been kind of um, all kinds of ups and downs since January. So, for those of you who might be new to the channel, my grandmother passed away in January, so I started the year with a loss, and I'm fine. I mean, we've all dealt with our grief in our own way. My family anticipated the loss. It was a very long goodbye, and um, so that those first few weeks of the quarter took a little bit of adjusting. I was not in a great place emotionally for a bit, like not necessarily because of the death, but just like a lot of stuff that felt like I'd put off. Like I guess you could say, and I've been calling it midlife crisis. Like it's like a pre-midlife crisis or so, um, depending on whatever you think of as midlife. So I just kind of like had to reset a little bit for a while. I've been kind of engaging in a much slower lifestyle for a while now, but this time I'm more seriously reviewing what I have to do and what I can let go of. And that's been a process that's been happening for a little bit longer than the quarter, I'd say about 8 months or so now. I started just examining my work, my life, my writing, my online persona, and what I do, um, what I can let go of. And we often do more than we need to. We often set more goals than we can manage. Let me take this off because it's going to get in the way. Um, I tend to be a pretty realistic goal setter. I'm not a big resolutions person in the traditional sense. I just like to set quarterly goals and tasks and work it into my life that way. But this quarter was a lot of change and a lot of stuff happening, and I really just said no to a lot of stuff. I have been focusing more so on just my well being, my health, my stress levels, a lot of saying no to family, particularly my mother, which, I mean, if you've watched the vlogs, you'll know that I have a complicated relationship with my mom and my mom's needs. I love her, but she is dependent in the way that any child of immigrants knows their parents are. It's her age, it's her not limited language skills, but just discomfort around her knowledge of language and stuff that comes up, like documentation, health stuff, things like that I have to serve as a interpreter, translator for, just because she doesn't want to mess up or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And so sometimes my mom is just a time suck in that way. So I've been dealing with her. It's been some tough conversations surrounding that, just like letting her know, like, hey, you cannot become completely dependent on me. She's in her late 60s. No, actually, she's in her early 70s. Sorry. And she has a habit of relying on me for a lot of stuff. And I think that the years that she was taking care of my grandmother full time really affected some of her self confidence. And I understand that, but it's been a challenge to get her to come to terms with her own abilities again, especially because after the pandemic, she was basically housebound with my grandmother for almost 4 years. So it was 9 years of her taking care of my grandmother as her Alzheimer's worsened, and then 4 years of essentially not really being able to leave the house except for necessary appointments. So I know her self confidence took a shot, and I've been working to help her feel confident again in her abilities and not need me for every little thing, because I cannot handle another responsibility on top of everything else. So that's been a big part of this quarter. That partly because it does tie into my health. I've been really trying to tackle my migraines, and I've made some really big improvements. I had a major episode in December that sent me to the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack because it felt like a stroke. They did all the tests, and I wasn't having any episodes in that way, but it basically was the kind of migraine that mimics the feeling of a stroke, and that is absolutely terrifying. So for that, day, I really thought I was dying, and that was not fun, and kind of a reality check in terms of like I need to take care of these things. I've also noticed that every December is when I have my worst migraine attacks, and I'm sure that my family's drama in every holiday season, for whatever reason, everybody's health just kind of craps out, has not helped. So I've been making a targeted effort to stay on top of my supplements, not miss them, stay on top of my Cephally treatments, which is that thing that I wear on my forehead that you sometimes see in other vlogs, and just making sure that my like migraine hygiene protocol is up to par. I also introduced omega-3s after watching an Andrew Huberman episode, because I was like, you know what? There was a point in my life where I was very diligent about taking omega-3s, and I did have fewer migraines, so I did the experiment, and it has actually made a significant difference in the severity and frequency of my migraines, and it was such a small thing to do. It's taking omega-3s at a dose of at least 1,200 a day. So I take a fish oil, and the particular one that I take is Nordic Naturals. It comes out to 1,260 milligrams a day, and it's really made a huge difference. I take one in the morning and one in the midday, and it's been the most dramatic impact of all the supplements I've taken, even more so than the ones that my doctor recommended. And given that a few years ago, when I first started seeing my neurologist, she wanted to put me on a very side effect heavy preventative treatment that I denied and turned down. Sorry about the noise in the background. Those are my neighbors. Um, I am just so grateful that something like an omega-3 and a little machine on my forehead has made such a huge, significant impact in my quality of life. So there's that. In terms of my finances, I've slowly but surely been getting back to those old habits that I've been talking about in my budget videos. Let's give this a couple minutes to dry before the Insta. So I've been really focusing on scaling back my spending habits and restoring more frugal, simple living habits. And this particular month, I'm really seeing an impact, fingers crossed. Careful finger cross. Because there's still about a week left in the month, but I am hopeful that it will not be a deficit month and that it will actually be a slightly higher increase, so that I can then take that lump sum, transfer it into my savings for the quarter, but that will come in another video. And then in my writing, I'm going to also do a more dedicated video for this, but I made the very, very significant decision to stop querying last month. Well, I guess kind of midway through this month, but last month I was already starting to get to that point. I had somehow gaslit myself into thinking I had only been querying for a year, but when I was actually going over some old documents, I found that was not the case. I have been querying for nearly 2 years, and this is the second time I've queried a novel. And I just feel that I'm just not there where the market wants me to be, but I don't think that that means that my book is not where readers maybe want me to be. So in terms of the publishing industry and my work, I don't think we align at this time, and so I'm just going to be my own champion. That was the most frequent comment that the, what are those called? The form rejections had, was like, I am not the right person to be your champion. And I'm like, I don't need a champion. I need somebody willing to work with me. So I will be my own champion from here on out. And honestly, I'm more excited and energized than I have been in a long time about this. It's a gamble, but it's a gamble that I'm willing to take. And I feel like a part of me had already made this decision long ago, and I was really just dragging my heels on trying to hold out for longer. But it's a decision that feels right at this point in my life. I had held off because I wasn't ready to be a business essentially, but I was really just no longer feeling passionate about what I was doing. And this decision has actually sparked a passion that I had felt like I was losing. So I'll talk about that more in another video, go into details of my plans and all that. But all this to say that I'm excited for the next quarter. I feel like I'm finally coming back to myself in some ways. I feel like after, coming out of grief and loss and some struggles with money and things that have happened around my home and my life, I'm on the uphill. I hope that we remain on the uphill, that you never know what life will throw your way. I have some health stuff that I'm getting, you know, regular checkups for, and making sure nothing is changing for the negative. So that's always at the back of my mind. But for the most part, I feel good. My migraines are in a not bad place. And I have more hope than I've had in a while. So that is all good things going forward. And that is what I had to check in on. So I just wanted to do this very brief little check-in also while I do my nails, because I've been so busy planning and catching up on things and just life admin that I had not done my nails since my friend's wedding, and my friend's wedding was last month. So yeah, I wanted to do a natural color, because that means that as I'm writing, since I will be starting a new installment in the series that I would like to publish, and as I'm writing, my nails will chip, so we're keeping it very natural with a jelly nail polish, and it basically looks just like my nails. So whenever I'm writing, my nails go short because they'll chip as I write, so you can always tell if I'm actively working on something by the length of my nails. So that is that. We will check out here. I'll check in with you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this slightly different. I don't know if it'll have like a good ASMR vibe or something. I don't know if the noise in the background would help, but hopefully if you like the hand movements, this did something for you. And I will check in with you guys later. Bye.